Today's podcast is sponsored by King's Cleaning Solutions. King's offers carpet cleaning, tile and grout cleaning, upholstery cleaning, natural stone maintenance, area rug cleaning, and hardwood floor cleaning in Kokomo and its surrounding areas. Contact them today for all of your cleaning needs.
Welcome to another episode of The Lamp. I'm Pat Munsey, publisher of the Kokomo Lantern, and with me today is independent candidate for Indiana's 5th District Congressional seat, Robby Slaughter. Robby, thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to talk a little bit about your candidacy and most importantly, what it means to be an independent on the ticket. We don't see that a whole lot in Howard County or even in Indiana, but this you've been working at for some time because I think I met you in a previous election cycle trying to get on the ballot. You were successful this time.
That's correct. So an independent candidate in Indiana and actually across the country is someone who is not affiliated with any political party. In fact, there is no organization whatsoever behind an independent candidate. This is a person who is truly, as the word indicates, independent from any political process and is focused specifically on representing voters and not advocating a party or a pre-existing set of policies, and certainly not whatever any special interest requires them to do.
Gotcha. So why did you choose that path as opposed to aligning with not just a Democrat or Republican party, but any party in town, in the city or country?
We are facing an enormous crisis, Pat, and that crisis is one where the average person no longer trusts the key institutions in our society. If you look at government trust as a key indicator, trust in our institutions, trust in our federal, state, and local governments is on a dramatic decline. It has been so since the 1970s. It is the lowest point in recorded history. And right now, more people identify as independents than any other party. It's about 22% for each of the main two parties, and over 47% of Americans identify as independent. But of course, they don't have anyone to vote for in most elections because in many states, including Indiana, the barrier to running as an independent is incredibly high.
So how difficult was it? I mean, obviously it took you 2 cycles to get on the ballot at all for a statewide, a congressional race.
That's right. So in Indiana, you have to get 2% of the number of people who voted in the Secretary of State's election in your district in the previous cycle as valid signatures to be on the ballot. And that works out to about 4,700 valid signatures. And that meant I had to get over 6,000 because a lot of those signatures were incorrect or people were illegible, they moved away, they hadn't registered after all. And every one of those had to be collected in person, witnessed. You got to get their name, their birth date, their address. And it's tough for people to give that information up, especially in our society.
Sure. Well, heck, you just opening the door these days seems to be a challenge.
That's right. And of course, the established parties don't want any competition. They benefit from our existing first-past-the-post system with only 2 parties. And so the idea of any other option, especially one which isn't aligned to a party and is focused instead on the people and the voters, that's a threat to the status quo. So it is a big challenge to even get on the ballot in Indiana.
So, of course, now from a voter standpoint, I look at, I've got an independent voter on there, but I've got these 2 big parties. Am I wasting my vote on an independent candidate? How do you convince someone that it's not a wasted vote?
Well, if you vote for a party candidate, you're pretty much wasting your vote. And the reason I say that is not because the party candidates aren't good people. In fact, I've had a chance to meet a lot of party candidates on both sides. I go to events for everyone. I go to libertarian events, Republican events, Democratic events. I'm friends with people across the spectrum because I can go to those events. But for the most part, in this state, it doesn't matter who you vote for. You're going to get the same incompetent and corrupt government that you always get. And that's a difficult question, a difficult truth to fathom, especially at the state and initial federal level. Congress gets so little done, doesn't matter who's in office, Republicans or Democrats, that really throwing your vote away is voting for the same old, same old. What's the expression, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the different results? What is that again?
Well, I disagree with the statement. That's called practice.
Practice, well.
They say insanity, and I say, well, then you don't know what it is to shoot 100 free throws every week, That's practice. So let's find another kind of comparison there.
Well, I think that the main challenge is that because of this first-past-the-post system where you can only vote for one candidate, we are encouraged to think that the duopoly is the only option. And yet America was founded on the idea of independent thinking. And what we want, even from our elected representatives who are in parties, is to be able to step out and say, you know what, I disagree with my party on this issue. I'm going to vote with what my constituents want. But today you can barely do that. In fact, if you don't go to the extreme for your party, you're likely to get primaried. You're likely to get run out.
We've seen that.
Yeah, we've seen it here. We've seen it all over the country.
Okay. So Now that you are on the ballot and you are an independent candidate, why should I vote for you? What are you representing?
Well, I think the first thing is that unlike other candidates, I have been here in the community, working with people, meeting with people, building that trust over the course of the last several years. The party candidates, again, they seem to be nice people, but they really are focused only on their own party. They go to their own party events, they respond for their own party people, and they're really only trying to activate their party members. They have no interest in converting or convincing anyone to change their mind, whereas I'm working to convince Republicans and Democrats and Libertarians and Independents to say that I'm the best option for the job, which is what the whole role of campaigning should be about, convincing people to vote for the person. I also want to focus on the key issues that we care about. And the number one on that list to restore trust is term limits. We have to have term limits, not because they're a great idea in the long run, but because they will show the American people we are devoted to doing the job and getting out. We also need to have radical financial transparency. Over half the members of Congress are millionaires before they get there, and they become even richer through all kinds of mechanisms that would be illegal for the rest of us. And we need to make sure that people understand the only way to rebuild trust is not only to be in community, but to give up power and to show that it's about doing the job and not about enriching oneself and becoming a career politician.
Okay. Since you've had this unusual access to people from both sides or all the way across the spectrum, and you've sat with them, you've gone to their events, what are the issues in the 5th District that have risen to the top over the last couple of years as you've talked to people?
Well, the irony is that there are two sets of issues. There are the real issues that actually affect everyday people, and then there are the fake national issues which are poll tested and get lots of results. And we can list the second category all day long. In fact, just turn on the news, you'll see those. And of course, none of them really matter. They don't really affect things very much, but sure do they poll well and generate a lot of donations. But the real issues are things that affect communities, like the question of what's the right role for solar and alternative fuels in our communities. That's a major and controversial issue, and what you see is local governments, for the most part, not handling it well at all. Another question is also, what's the best way to make sure we have good access to health care and education in rural areas of our district as well as in urban areas? How do we improve equity in education and health care? We're not seeing that kind of conversation happen at all. And then how do we establish stronger levels of government accountability? We're facing a situation now of a massive loss in Medicaid dollars, which may be related to fraud in our state government, connected as well to our federal spending. And those kinds of issues affect everyday lives of everyday people because they contribute to things like inflation. They contribute to overall higher cost and create concerns and risk for individuals here in the 5th District.
All right. You've got 2 minutes to convince the person on the other side of that camera to cast the vote tomorrow for you.
I guess here's the question that I would ask for you as an individual voter, is that what have you been doing this entire time? You have been trying to hold out for a Republican or a Democrat. You have been pulling that lever, hoping that this time they'll be accountable, they'll be connected, they'll be reasonable to work for you. Well, I'm not like those candidates. I am here for you personally. You want to talk to me? Call me. My number is 317-670-4563. And I'll talk to you. I'll call you back. Go to my website, email me, check me out. I've got way more information on there than any other candidate, because this is fundamentally about earning your trust. We're not going to agree on every issue. We're going to disagree sometimes. But that's okay, because if the relationship is one of trust, if it's one of mutual respect, then we can work together. We can compromise. We can solve problems. And that's what the Republic was intended to be. That's what's written in this document that we've all been handed down, the U.S. Constitution. And until we get back to the idea of working together, trusting each other, and solving problems as a community, as a nation, we're never going to have the kind of success that we deserve as a country. That's why I'm asking for your vote, because like you, I'm a real person here for real Americans.
There you go. So there's something you don't hear every day from a politician, but I don't think I would actually use that word to describe you at this point. He seems to be more of an advocate. If he's saying things that sound interesting to you, if you want to learn more, obviously he's giving you his phone number and his email address and his website. I mean, we can get all that information there for you. Do a little research, go a little bit beyond just the R and the D, and if you don't like what you see, go back to what you're doing, but if you like something else, it looks like Robby is standing in the gap waiting to hear from you. So, Mr. Slaughter, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And all of you, thanks for tuning in and watching. Make sure that you're voting on November 5th. That's the most important thing that you can do outside of taking care of your kids, I suppose, or eating. But hey, it's pretty important. I hope to see you at the polls, or even before then in the early voting, which opened as we're filming on October 8th.
Today, yes.
Opened today. So as of right now, when you're watching this, you can early vote. So don't wait till the last minute and then go, oh, I didn't have time. There's plenty of opportunity right now. If you go to the Howard County website, you can find the locations. Or you can go to the Democrat or Republican local party pages on Facebook and other social media where they'll have that information as well. But don't use ignorance as an excuse. This is an opportunity for your voice to be heard. So again, thank you, Mr. Slaughter. Thank you, everyone. We're going to have more of these coming up with other candidates for office. It'll be on the ballot November 5th. But in the meantime, please be good to each other.